Hello and welcome to the Only Endometriosis podcast you need, and to this special series where I walk my own recovery path in real time with you. Before we dive in, a gentle reminder, I'm not a doctor. I'm a women's health therapist who's lived with endometriosis and managed my own symptoms for more than 2 decades, and I've supported hundreds of women through the twists and turns of this condition. I know my body, I know my triggers, my patterns, and the little whispers that tell me when things are flaring, and I know the red flags that mean it's time to get urgent medical help. I'm doing this journey with proper medical support from my GP. What I'm sharing here is my lived experience. This is not a blueprint, it's not a prescription, and it's not a promise of what will work for you. The tools I use are the tools I trust for my own body. Endometriosis shows up differently in every woman, and what's soothing for me may not be right for you. So please, as you listen, take what resonates and leave what doesn't. Seek your own advice, follow your own instincts, and remember that your path will be as unique and sacred as your body is. This is one woman's story, raw, honest, and shared in the hope that it helps you feel a little less alone as you walk your own path. Hello there, welcome to the first episode in the new series of the Only Endometriosis podcast you need. It's been a while, but I'm back. Life has been lifing, things have been happening, and it all goes to show, just be careful what you put out into the universe. And I know that I talk about this all the time, but this is a case in point. I've spoken to a lot of you about this podcast over the last 6 to 12 months, kind of a bit uncertain about where it was going, its direction, the sort of things I should be talking about, any gaps that I was filling, and I'd kind of really struggled for inspiration. So I put out into the universe to send me some inspiration about what to talk about. And boy, has it delivered. So my endometriosis is flaring. My perimenopause, my menopause journey, and my endometriosis have combined in quite a spectacular way. And this podcast will be literally following my journey. So I'm going to invite you, as you've probably guessed from the intro, this is an invitation to follow me on this journey. I'm literally going to class myself as a client, and I'm going to walk through the treatment process that I would walk through with any client with you. And now this is actually an idea that came from a client probably about 18 months ago. And we talked about having a guest on the podcast who was a client who could talk through exactly what it is I was doing. And I did ask a few clients, and I felt a bit, it was awkward. No, it wasn't awkward. I just felt a bit weird asking because it's such a personal journey. And all the clients I asked completely understandably said that it was a great idea, but they'd felt as if it wasn't right for them to participate, it wasn't the right time, they didn't want to disclose things, which is absolutely fine. I completely get that. So here I am my own client. I am going to be doing my 12-week program with myself, and I'm going to be walking through every episode as if it was the session. Now, when I always say this to clients, I badge it as a 12-week program. It doesn't necessarily take 12 weeks. It's essentially 12 sessions. We start off by thinking we're going to be doing them weekly, but quite often we end up doing them every 2 weeks. So I'm going to be doing a weekly podcast, and I'm going to be doing some sort of assessment on myself every week. But the weeks that I wouldn't be doing that with a client, the sort of the gap weeks, if you will, I would explain that to you. So this isn't necessarily 100% representative of what it would be like as a client. I also want to say as well, and again, I'm going to cover these episodes with disclaimers, but I also want to say as well that this program, endometriosis, is so complex, and it turns up differently for every single woman that I work with. There are similarities, there are threads that run through everybody's endometriosis, but for every woman it manifests completely differently. So what I do in these next 12 weeks, in inverted commas, maybe less, maybe more, it will be less, but maybe more, whatever I do with myself in these 12 weeks is a very personal treatment plan to me, and it doesn't necessarily reflect what would happen with you, the treatment plan that you would get from me or from everyone else. So if you are going to be walking this path with me in terms of looking at it from your own perspective, please don't just mirror what I'm doing for myself. Use these episodes or greet these episodes with curiosity, with an open mind, and as an example of what's possible, rather than looking at it as a blueprint for how you should treat your own endometriosis. This podcast is not designed to be a treatment program. It's not designed to be followed letter by letter. So I am going to be leaving things out. I'm not going to be completely open about the treatments that I'm giving myself, because I don't want people just to follow it and to think it's going to help them, because you will not get the same results as I get, because your body, your endometriosis is completely different. So with that bit out of the way, let's make a start. So if I was my client, and I'll probably end up saying that quite a lot in this. I'll try not to, because it kind of goes without saying, but I'll probably say it quite a lot. But if I was my client, I would already have had a bit of a discovery call. We'd have had maybe 1 or 2 chats about endometriosis, about the symptoms, about what's possible, about whether I wanted to work with myself or not. So I'm assuming that all that has been done. So this episode is going to be a little bit of context for you guys. It's also going to be a little bit of context for me, because it's what I would work through with a client in terms of building on next steps. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what's happening with my endometriosis at the minute, what I know, and the next step. So let's start, as I would with any client, at the beginning. So let's talk about what has brought me to me, what has brought me to seek my own help. So I've noticed over the last few cycles that things have been changing slightly. So my cycles have always been regular. They have always followed a certain pattern. By and large, they've been healthy. So there's been a little bit of twinginess around ovulation, a little slight pang of pain every now and again just before the bleed, and the bleed has been relatively healthy. There's always been a little bit of stagnation within the blood, but nothing that would warrant sort of any concern. So there's always been that sort of pattern to it. It did shift slightly after I had IVF. For those of you who've listened to my podcasts or who I've chatted to will know that I had a couple of rounds of IVF about 5 years ago maybe, and things did shift. That did cause a slight flare up in my endometriosis, and things have never really, if I'm honest, got back to normal in inverted commas since then. But just these last few months, I've just noticed a few shifts. In particular, I have noticed an increase in bloating, quite significant bloating. I've noticed an increase in pain, quite significant pain, especially around ovulation. Not so much around the bleed, but especially around ovulation. And I've noticed a shift in my actual bleeds. So my cycles have become more irregular, and my bleeds have become textbook healthier. So there's no clots in my bleeds anymore, and that stagnation element has kind of disappeared. So there's been some quite significant shifts, and I would say over the last 3 cycles, I started to get quite nervous that there was actually something going on. So I'm used to endometriosis, I'm used to managing my endo, but this felt a little bit different. So I reached out to my GP, and I have to say, and again, I know that I've said this already, but I am doing all of this in conjunction with my GP, and this isn't to be seen as something that you do instead of seeking medical advice. I'm doing all of this alongside my GP and potentially a gynecologist as well. So where was I? So yeah, I noticed that something wasn't right. So I did reach out to my GP, and I've had some tests and scans done. So they've ruled out anything sinister. Without having a laparoscopy, we are as certain as we can be about what's going on. And there is a chance that I will still go. I've got an active gynecology referral at the moment. There is a chance that I will have at least a diagnostic up, and I might actually have some ablation surgery as well. So that's potentially the outcome. I'm going to work to avoid that. I'm going to work, so in the interim, while I'm on the waiting list here, hoping to hear from the gynecologist, I'm going to be doing everything I can to avoid the surgery. But I'm not ruling it out, because I always say to my clients, there is a place and a time for surgery if that's what you want. I'm feeling like it isn't what I want. I'm feeling like it's not the route I'm going to go down. But as I say to my clients, I am keeping that mind open, and I'm keeping that pathway as an option. Like I say, it's not my preferred pathway just at the moment. So everything sinister has been ruled out. And we are as certain as we can tell from all the scans that I've had that this is endometriosis. It is back with a vengeance. So what do I know? I know from the scans that my right ovary is filled with fluid, which is potentially an endometriomas or some sort of endometrial thing going on. There's a real chance from the scans, it showed that it's the real chance that it's fused with my bowel, and also the way that the hip pain, or the pain, is radiating into the hip and to the lower back. It seems to be that some adhesions or fusion going on in that direction as well. I'm getting bloating and discomfort in my diaphragm, so it's highly likely that the endometriosis has spread upwards as well. So that's the kind of stuff we know. Oh, I've also got a polyp on the lining of my womb as well. So that's all of the stuff that we know. It's nothing sinister. It's nothing that phases me in particular. I've worked with women who have had a lot more severe symptoms than I'm experiencing at the moment, and I've managed my own endo for 20 years, so it's nothing that is particularly worrying me. I know the red flags to look for. I know when to escalate this back to the GP or to the specialist, to the gynecologist if I need to. But at the moment, I'm pretty chilled. I'm pretty confident that I can reduce all of my symptoms, that I can reduce the endometriosis essentially. And that's what these 12 weeks are going to be about. So, week 1. So I've done what I would ask any client to do. I've sat down and I have analysed exactly what is going on currently with me. So if you are doing this journey, and again, I stress that please don't do it step by step how I'm doing it, but the first thing I do with any client, and if you are on this journey of self-management, it is the first step of my 3-step protocol, which is to understand your endometriosis, to track everything. Now, I clearly have tracked things for years. I don't necessarily use the tracking apps anymore, it's all in my mind, but it's something that I went back to and started to do more in depth when I knew that when I suspected that my endo was flaring again. So I've gone through and I've documented exactly where I'm getting the pain, exactly what type of pain it is, and I've scored it out of 10. Now, this isn't always easy to do because endometriosis is cyclical, or it can be cyclical for a lot of women. So sometimes you're going to be getting pain that is worse than ordinary pain, that sometimes it's a different type of pain. So the best thing to do is to score it in a way that feels right for you, that is aligned to how you view your endometriosis, because the key thing here is not about getting it right, it's about being consistent. So my 8 out of 10 pain is potentially could be your 6 out of 10 pain, because we all have different thresholds. How you feel your pain, how you view your pain is unique to you. So as long as you're measuring it consistently, that's the important bit. So I've got a list here. So I'm getting pelvic pain on the right hand side. The pain peaks around ovulation at 8 out of 10. Constant underlying ache around 3 out of 10. But actually I've added a little note onto here to say that that's not strictly true, but it peaks at 3 out of 10. And actually the constantly underlying ache at this part of my cycle isn't there at all. I'm getting occasionally nervy, twitchy sensations low in the pelvis. I'm also getting ovulation pain on the left hand side. That's a 7 out of 10 on ovulation. Then I've listed how the pain feels. So things like, is it a hot pain? Is it a shooting pain? Is it a split pain? All of these things. And again, these words have no dictionary definition. So as long as you understand what you mean, and as long as you can stick to these definitions consistently and explain it to anybody who you might show these notes to, that's all that matters. So look at things like tenderness to touch. So I'll list the things here that I've looked at, and again, this is not this is not, so brain fog's a thing as well, it turns out. This is not a comprehensive list. This is the list that's pertinent to me. So there's so many other things that I would look at with other clients. So tenderness to touch, bladder symptoms, bowel symptoms, rib cage pain, energy levels, movement, hydration, sleep, diet, medication and supplements, emotional landscape, life changes. I've had some massive life changes in the last 18 months. Most of them have been absolutely perfect. They've been positive, but it doesn't matter sometimes whether the life changes are, or whether what you're experiencing in life is positive or negative. Our brains don't like change. So even though the vast majority of the things of lifing, as I said earlier, have been positive, it's still change, and resilience and endometriosis symptoms do react to change, positive and negative. So the fact that I've had a lot of change in the last 18 months has possibly impacted quite significantly, but we'll understand more of that as we work through. It's something to take into consideration. And then anything of note, so again, I've just noted there the presence of the polyp in my lining, and the fluid on my right ovary. I think it's my right ovary. Need to check that. So again, as you can see, this will not be perfect. I am flawed as everybody else is, but this is exactly what we're looking at. We're looking at the types of symptoms I'm getting from day one. We're scoring them where we can out of 10, so we can see any progress that's happening. We're looking at lifestyle, we're looking at life, we're looking at everything that could potentially be impactful. I've obviously listed the scan findings there, and I will look when I get the scan. I've got a doctor's appointment, I think, next week or the week after, I can't remember. But when I get the actual results, I'll add that to the notes as well, if there's anything different or if there's anything else to share. So this episode is kind of to show you my baseline. This is exactly where I am, and this is exactly what I'm hoping will improve. This is exactly what I'm going to be, or the path that I'm going to be working on with you. So I know, like I say, from my experience, what to look for if something gets worse or if a red flag happens. I know that what I need to do. I know how to manage this. And again, I will share this on the podcast as I'm going through. But again, please be mindful that these are not just the only red flags. These are the red flags for me in my circumstances. So session 1 with me is always about understanding the endometriosis. It's always about tracking it. It's always about seeing that bigger picture. So I've talked through things like lifestyle changes, my diet tends to be fine. I eat too much sugar. I know that I eat too much sugar. I crave sugar, and that's because my energy levels dip, so I just reach for the easy option. Even though I tell lots of people, a lot of my clients will be listening to this thinking, can't believe this, you tell me not to do that. Yeah, I'm able to tell you not to do it. Well, I don't tell anybody not to do it, but I hope you know what I mean. I'm able to advise you on that because I have first-hand experience of it. I know exactly where you are in the moment. Movement, that's the big thing. So the two big things, so looking at the notes that I've made. So I sat down, so if you're at a loss how to start this, there is an endometriosis tracker that is free. I can't remember where it's free. I'll put it in the notes, but it's free with the Endometriosis Empowerment Workbook. That's where it's free, and you actually, as a podcast listener, you get a discount to that as well. So I'll pop a link to that in the show notes, so you can go on and get that if you want to use my tracker. But literally, just I set aside half an hour, and I did a little ritual. So I did a little bit of a meditation as well, and I literally just went through everything on the tracker. Gently, again, if you want to leave it and come back to it, that's fine. There's no rhyme and reason for this. You just do it in a way that suits you, that's aligned with where you are at the time. So I'm just going to share a few of these notes. I'm not going to go into massive detail because some of it is personal from the emotional side of things. But yeah, so I'm getting scores heightening about 7 out of 10, 8 out of 10 around ovulation. Ribcage pain peaks about 5 out of 10, intermittent as a baseline, 2 out of 10. My energy levels vary from between 8 out of 10, but they can drop off quickly to between 3 and 4 out of 10. Movement, so this is the big thing for me. I've moved house recently, and my exercise regime has gone completely out of the window. I was being really good. I was running 3 times a week. And then just these last couple of weeks when things have got a little bit tricky, I've stopped doing that as well. So the last few days, or the last couple of weeks, there has been no dedicated movement, no dedicated exercise. It's just been a bit sporadic. When my watch has pinged, I've stood up or I've gone for a little bit of work, but a little bit of a walk. But I know that I'm not moving enough during my working day. Hydration has dropped off massively. And again, all of my clients will be tutting at me because this is the first thing I say to my clients, and I'm really annoyed at myself. So I've been drinking about 1 litre of water a day, which is nowhere near enough. When my body is flaring, I'm not exercising, so I don't need water and hydration as much as I do when I'm running. But even then, 1 litre of water is not enough. I have 1 cup of coffee every morning, which is a new thing. I haven't drunk coffee for about 12 years. So that is flagged up in my kind of understanding what's happened. But yeah, I'm not drinking anywhere near enough water. My sleep is disturbed. It's not fully restorative. Yeah, my diet is generally okay, but I'm finding more sugar creeping in as my energy levels dip. That's to kind of self-medicate. That's my excuse. Medication and supplements. So I have started taking herbal medicine from my fabulous friend Zoe. A lot of you will have heard of her. I'll put her details as we go through as well in the show notes as well, so you can talk to her if you want. She sent me some supplements to take as well. As you will know, I don't buy into the over-the-counter supplements, but if you're talking to a qualified herbalist, if you're talking to a qualified medical herbalist, then they can always recommend supplements if they feel that you need them. Quite often you don't need them. Quite often you can get the nutrition you need from your diet or from the medicine that she provides, but if she feels like a boost is needed, then she will tell you about any supplements as well and direct you to reputable companies. Emotional landscape, so low-level anxiety, that was from something that happened last year that triggered my anxiety and possibly post-traumatic stress, but I won't go into that. Sort of general worries around Christmas and I've put here some lingering echoes from earlier in the year, so that just links back to the anxiety. So I think that's been a massive thing. The thing that I won't really talk about that happened sort of back end of last year, beginning of this year. Is that right? Can't think of timescales. I've written it down, I just haven't put it in my notes. I do have my own client file, which is, I don't know if that's, I'm quite proud of it, but anyway, so it's in the file, but it's just not in my notes for this podcast episode. But that's been a major thing. So that's the thing I've flagged, and the changes. So I've had to reopen my clinic in a new space, in a new place, in a new town, which has felt like starting a new business. It's been fantastic, but it's a big change, a lot of stress. I'm in the new year moving to a new treatment room, which again is a positive change. It's exciting, but it's change. It's a little bit of stress. We've moved house, general shifting foundation. So my safety nets, my rituals, my general foundation of life has shifted, and it hasn't changed massively, but there has been some big changes within it. So a new relationship, and got married, moved house. Friendships have changed. Some significant shifts have been happening, all of which are going to impact on a low level, but when you add them all up, it's quite a year of change, shall we say. So from the notes that I've made for myself, if I was my client, the initial things I would say are these three. Movement, 100% movement, get back out running. And this is probably going to be quite good in terms of accountability, because every week I'm going to have to come on here and tell you that I've just been sat on my arse for a week, which is going to be really, really disheartening. And I should say as well, I'm going to approach this with absolute honesty, because there's no point, as I say to my clients, there's no point in lying, there's no point in hiding things, because the only way that you can tackle your symptoms, the only way that you're going to manage them is with an element of self-truth and honesty. So that's exactly how I'm approaching it. So movement. I need to get off my backside a little bit more. I need to get back to running or doing that longer walk at least 3 times a week. And I need to move more on the days that I'm not doing the longer walk or the run. Hydration. I need to hydrate more. I need to be hitting that 2 litre of water on a normal day. If I'm running, then I need to be drinking even more. So I need to be hydrated more. And I need to be taking time for me. I need to be kinder to myself. I need to recognise that the stuff I went through, that the residual changes, that foundation shifting, has actually been more impactful than I thought it would be. So I need to be gentle with myself. I need to prioritise my self-care. I need to prioritise relaxation. And in doing so, I need to incorporate these self-treatment techniques that we're going to be talking through. So, gentle start to this week. This week is all about taking my medicine from Zoe. It's about hydrating more, moving more, being gentle with myself, and I'm going to be doing meditations, I'm going to be doing journaling, and I'm going to be doing positive affirmations because they work for me. They do form a large part of the programs for my clients as well, but they massively work for me. So that's what I'm going to be doing this week. Next week, we shall do week 2. We shall check in and see how things are going. If you have been impacted by any of this, and I would say again, there is hope. There is plenty of things that you can do for yourself, but if you are worried, then please do speak to your GP, and I look forward to talking to you this week. I should say as well that it isn't just going to be about me every week. This week is a bit different because it's setting the scene and it's talking about my experience and my context for the next 12 or so podcast episodes. But every week I'm going to be weaving in stories of clients. I'm going to be weaving in stories and examples of the treatments that I'm going to be using as well. So if you have any questions, if you'd like to comment on anything, please feel free. You can also book brain fog. You can also book a telephone consultation, a video consultation, or I'm introducing a new hormone harmony. I don't know why I've called it that because I can't say it. Hormone harmony check-in, which is essentially you fill out a long questionnaire about your symptoms, and I leave you a 10, 15 or so minute voice note. Probably won't be that long. It feels that long, probably about 5 minutes voice note in terms of any advice. It's just a one-off, it's not an ongoing discussion. So if that feels like that would help you as well, then please do check that out on my website. So until next time, welcome back. Thank you for sticking with me. I shall see you next week. Thank you very much for listening to this episode. I hope that it's helped and at the very least have given you hope and some solace that you're not alone in your own endometriosis journey. I'd like to thank Chris Collins for my theme tune. It's called Kindness, which I thought represented exactly what I wanted to walk this journey with. If you would like my help, if you would like any more information on my services, then you can check out my website on healthyandwomenhealth.com/women. And if you would like to take advantage of my free symptom tracker and a discount on the endometriosis workbook, then you can find that in the show notes. Thank you for listening.